tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
What's up, world? I'm your host, Neema, Skye, and welcome to another edition of Go Viral, where we interview the world's hottest entertainers and influencers, and we capture their moments of viral fame. Now, we do have our special guest in the building, but before we get to him, I want to talk about our special segment of the hour, which is Viral Base, where Kevin himself is going to give us his 3 top gems of going viral and so much more. But let's introduce him. He is a #1 Billboard charting artist. He is a mashup king, a Grammy Award-winning songwriter, CEO of his own label, and a soon-to-be Grammy Award-winning artist. Yeah, I said that. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Kevin Ross.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. So listen, I want to get straight into it. Let's talk about you doing the mashups, right? So I saw that actually it was at 1.2 million that you got from your mashups, but I think your numbers have probably increased.
The numbers are a bit different across all social media. So right now we're at over 35 million on Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media platforms. So yeah.
Okay, so I want to get into one of my favorites because, you do so many different mashups. But back in 2017, you released the compilation of the 90s R&B mashups.
Yeah.
And it was songs from artists such as Soul For Real, Backstreet, and also Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this particular one that actually won 1.2 million. And why did you decide to do the 90s R&B?
Honestly, I was talking with a couple of my family members over like the holiday season. So that was Christmas 2016. And so they was like, man, everybody love the 90s R&B, man. You got to bring it back. You got to bring it back. And for me, I'm more of a progressive. So I'm like, well, it's not my job to bring it back. But what I will do and what I can do is pay tribute and to, take people into that nostalgia moment. And plus, it was just a good time because the New Edition movie was just about to come out and all of that. And so I decided to do my research on the 90s, see what the biggest hits were. And I was like, damn, it's a lot of 90s hits. And so I decided to break them up into volumes to do it 2 years at a time. And so, you got volume 1 through 5. And what I realized from out of doing that is that, a lot of these people that have these hits, they're still alive and well and kicking and touring. So they really, gave props, and I think they really appreciated the flowers that they got from the mashup. So it was awesome.
Yes. You listen. So first of all, let's talk about these numbers. How do you deal with that? Is it ever your goal to get the numbers, or is it just your goal just to be able to make the mashups?
My goal is to just make a dope product, to be honest. That's really my end goal. And whatever happens after that is whatever happens. How the 90s thing started is I was like, after I created, I was like, this kind of feels good. And I was wondering how people were going to respond to it. And the 90s mashup was really kind of the catalyst and the turning point for my mashups, and how they were structured, how I needed to go about it in the future. So, I don't really think about numbers. The numbers just happen. And the more that you start to go viral, or the more numbers that you equate, the more that you know that you can attain that and how to do it and how to get to a certain number. So,
right. So what's okay? So we know that you're not focusing on the numbers. Of course, you're definitely focused on the quality, but just understanding how numbers work. What do you think is your #1 goal whenever you're trying to get these mashups out?
My #1 goal is to touch people. It's to make them feel something. You know what I mean? So it's tough because when you covering anything, there's already a standard that's there, right? That people love, and so they look to you to be like, don't mess this up. And so for me, my goal is to always not reach for that bar, but to go a completely different way than what people would expect. Still paying homage, but still doing it my way. And that's what I've kind of learned from doing all of these mashups, is just don't think too much about it. Just make sure that people feel it. Make sure that if you feel something from it, then most likely a lot of people will as well. So
absolutely. Speaking of, back last year in March, you did a mashup with Miss J from the DMV. Yeah. You guys gave tribute to Missy Elliott, and you went. Combined together, it was over 50K views that you had.
Wow, that's
and
cool.
You got a numerous amount of response. So I want to know, how was that experience being able to create with her, and then also having Missy Elliott give you an appreciation back for doing the mashup?
Yeah. The Missy one was really dope. Miss J, we connected maybe like a month prior, and so I linked up with her out here, and we sat there. We were just like, yo, what can we do together? You know, because they know her for comedy, and they know me for doing, you know, music, and she's an artist, you know, and she's a great singer herself. And so I was like, well, you know, why don't we, you know, bring you into my world? You know what I mean? And I was like, let's start there because I know that you want to be an artist. I know that you are an artist. So let's start there. So we were thinking, we were like, well, who can we pay tribute to? And, you know, whose birthday or something that's coming up? And we were like, Missy Elliott, that'll be dope. And so, you know, that's kind of how it sprung about. And then I kind of got the arrangement together and I sent it to her and was like, you know, what do you think? Do you want to get on it? Yada, yada. And then once I got back to LA, we did it, and then she was just like, yeah, Missy's gonna repost this.
Oh, she knew it.
Yeah, she knew it. You know, she has more experience as far as like viral and just that whole area. So when she said it, I kind of trusted her instinct on it. So
and it happened.
Yeah, it was great.
And Missy said something.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, over, you know, 1-point-something million views on Facebook and however many, like you said, those numbers, wherever those numbers were. But yeah, I mean, they start racking up after a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me tell you this, because I noticed, like, I look at the comments.
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, you have a lot of, like, artists who are out now and also from, you know, the legendaries, like, from way back.
Yeah.
But they normally comment on your posts, like, how does that make you feel? Like, does that put any pressure on you? Or?
Nah, it don't. Nah, it just it helps to like continue to motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing. I can't feel pressure from it if, you know, if they weren't there before, you know. So, you know, if they come on and now they are supporting, it just allows for me to continue to level up and continue to improve as well. So if any pressure is really just me looking in the mirror to say, okay, well, how can you top that? How can you do better than that? Like I said, beyond numbers, just in the art form of it.
So what do you want to create with your mashups? Because I remember you talking about a little bit last year that you have an acronym for your mashup.
Yeah. So making art shape history. Yeah,
yes.
that's the acronym for MASH and then up. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that. So how did you come up with that concept?
I mean, just being a student of the game. You know, allowing for you know, all of my predecessors to receive credit, to receive the flowers for me, and also living in the present while shaping the future. I knew that the mashups was doing something within the realm of, I guess, my peer bracket that was a bit different than what everybody else was doing. And I was just like, man, like, this is really influencing a lot of people. This is really catching on in a different kind of way, and it's beyond me. And so I wanted to create an acronym that you know, other people that are cover artists or mashup artists to understand the responsibility that they carry in covering songs. It's not just about, you know, you hear people cover songs and, you know, it's cool or whatever, but I think that as history shows, all of the great artists had this one particular ability, and that was to create their own sound, right? So, you know, Luther Vandross, you know, was kind of the king of covering records and making it his own. Aretha Franklin, same thing. Stevie Wonder. So a lot of Marvin Gaye,
right.
You know, they take these songs and they really craft it into their own sound. And so that's how I look at it, is to say, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to cover a record, whether it's a mashup or whether it's Andre 3000's Prototype or whatever it is, I want to make it my own, you know, and not be disrespectful.
Absolutely.
But to, you know, create a different path and a different way of singing it or interpreting it. So, yeah.
So do you feel like your mashups have be able to create opportunity for you?
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, Essence came to me last year.
Wow.
And they wanted, you know, me to do a mashup for, what was that, the 25th anniversary, some kind of anniversary that they were doing for Essence Fest. And so, you know, they sent me a list of all of the artists, and so I mashed it up, and, you know, thank you, Essence, for that nice check that you
See?
Appreciate that.
It's like when you put your gift out there and like, you know, you just decide to be creative. Like, that's what happens. It actually opens up so much opportunity for you, especially as being an artist. I feel like you have to find a way to be able to capture your art, you know, your audience. I mean, social media is there, but you got to find a right way. And I commend you for being able to do your mashups, because that's a lot. You know, you got people looking at you, you know, from way back when, and, you know, like, of course you got to be able to give much to your audience, and you do a great job.
Thank you.
But I want to talk about you as an artist. I know last year you decided to part ways with your label, and you became an independent artist, and now you are doing distribution with Empire Records, and you started your own label.
Yes, Art Society Music Group.
Yes. So I want to know, within this year, how has this transition been for you?
It's been amazing. overall, it's
Yes.
been amazing. I mean, you know, with any great thing comes great victory and great hardship as well.
Absolutely.
You know, anything that you want that is great in this world, you know, you get both sides, both ends of the spectrum. And for me, it's just about balancing it out, you know. So we've had great victories as far as with thing called love and being able to, number one, get out of the contract, and for, you know, my label, or my old label, Motown Records, for being gracious enough to let me out.
Yes.
They could, you know, they
could have
kept me in.
Yeah, you're right.
They could have showed me.
Like, no, you belong to us.
Exactly.
Which we know the history of that.
Exactly. So, you know, for them to allow for me to, you know, do my own thing and venture off meant a lot to me. So forever indebted to them, and I thank them for, you know, providing me the opportunity that they have in the platform.
So what's the difference, do you feel like, being with the label as an artist and being an independent artist? Like, what are, like, you know, the variations of, you know...
Money.
Yeah, okay. You got a point.
That's the big one right there. You just don't have a big budget, you know, so you gotta make it work for you. You gotta be, you know, more smart and sensible about how you spend your money as well, you know, and bartering. Your network is your net worth.
Yes, sir.
And so that's the biggest thing for me as being a budding entrepreneur. I like to say that because, you know, I still got a lot to learn, and I feel like I have great people behind me that have been of great support and that allow for these dreams that I have and these visions that I have to be manifested and, you know, put out into the physical world. So that means a lot. So I'm excited. Our Society Music Group is doing some great things, and we're releasing Audacity January 31st, which is the first part of an album. Yeah.
Yes. Talking about the Art Society Music Group. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations, because I think I said this though when I told you a thing called Love was going to get that #1 chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. Congratulations to that.
you.
But I want to know, like, so what has the experience been seeing the Art Society Music Group be a brainchild and actually being a manifestation of experience?
It's been great, you know, and it's shown me that execution is a gift within itself.
Absolutely.
And that outside of singing and writing and producing, that one gift that I have kind of been training myself with every day is the ability to execute. You know, what I am learning now is the art of delegation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So along with those, you know, every different nuance matters. And so for me, I'm working on delegation. But yeah, execution has been a very important factor in order for us to have gotten this far.
So I want to know, Art Society Music Group. You could have named your label anything.
Yeah.
Why it's particularly Art Society Music Group?
Because I'm an artist advocate.
Yes.
First, beyond anything, I believe in the creative. I believe that if you create something, that you deserve the lion's share of what you create.
Absolutely.
It's the music business, and it's so much heavily weighed on the business. And it's not the fact that creatives aren't eager to learn the business is just the fact that I feel like a lot of times they are sidetracked, blinded, distorted, out of figuring out what is their brand and how their brand ticks and how to monetize that. A lot of things that, you know, they don't teach you along the way on the creative side. And so for me, I want to be an artist advocate to empower artists to own their own, you know, work. And not to say to isolate the business, but instead of you being owned by someone, to partner with them,
Right.
you know, so that you're on the same playing field, that you see eye to eye, and that there is no ceiling to you learning, you know. So that's what I'm about. We're students of the game. We're students of music or writing or acting or whatever it is. We all deserve a shot to own what we love.
Absolutely. And I think, first of all, I do commend you for being able to step out, because that's a hard game.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? But of course, I feel like when you have the talent and you focus on what you want, I feel like it's achievable.
Yeah.
I want to know, just outside of, you know, I know that you're developing a lot with, you know, with yourself, with your label, but what other type of opportunities do you see Art Society Music Group being able to, whether you're offering for other artists, or what kind of other things do you want to do with it?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I realized going into 2020 is I want to help to make other people's dreams come true, just in general, right? So whether you're an artist, whether you're a producer, whether you're a writer, whether you're trying to get your, you know, business from off of the ground, our company is there to, help facilitate in any way that we can, whether that is partnering with other artists, whether that is, third-party consultation. I see a lot of conferences in our future as far as, empowerment conferences for creatives. I see a lot of going to schools and colleges and even, public schools. We're going to Clayton County Public School System in Atlanta, Georgia, February 3rd to speak with the children. So, that activation has already started and began. So we're blessed, and we want to be able to reach out to every single creative to let them know that this is possible, that it's not this figment of your imagination. No, independent is not sexy. We make it look sexy, but it's not. It's a very hard it's a very hard game, and it's gritty. But if you know the tools, if you provided the tools and the opportunity, and you may have a good shot of succeeding in your own world. That's the beauty of where we're at now. So
that's true.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Audacity coming out January 31st.
Yep.
So I know the Audacity was very different from the Awakening.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about how it's different from your first project.
It's just a lot more grittier. It's a lot more sensual. You get a more sexier side. I wouldn't say it's sex, but it's sexier than, you get to see, kind of a little bit more of the man that I am, I think with the Awakening, you saw my intention within my soul, within like my purest of hearts. And I think that that's a great start.
Right.
But Audacity really kind of uncovers and unveils a lot more grit, the humanity side of me, the toils, the heartbreak, the paranoia, the possessiveness, all kinds of stuff that I didn't address on this last album, or the previous album that I'm addressing on this one. So yeah.
Ooh. So why did you decide to choose Audacity out of all names?
Because I was living it. I was living it to the fullest. I mean, by the time that I asked for my release, I was audacious enough to ask to be released. And that's off of, we were coming off the heels of being nominated for NAACP Award, the iHeart Music Award, the Soul Train Award, all these different things that were coming in. And I just, something in me was just like, this don't feel right.
Yeah.
You put in all this blood, sweat, and tears. You produce half of the album. You write every song on Awakening, and you don't have executive producer credit. So, I say a line within this new album. I say that I had to ask my label for release. It's hard to make a home when your name ain't on the lease. And so for me, that rang true. Where it was like, I just don't have ownership. I don't have any control over like my music. Like, my number one song, Long Song Away.
Right. Which is dope.
I own 100% of it. I wrote and produced it. But if you needed to sync it for your show, you couldn't ask me directly. You would have to ask the label because they own it, right? And they own it for forever. So that just didn't resonate well with me. So I knew that I needed a new business model, and I wanted to go out there and get it myself. Because honestly, I did want to finish the contract with them, because I was just like, well, I got a lot to learn, and let's just see. But God presented an opening and an opportunity, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to take it, and I'm out. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, you have two compilations, right? You have this. So this is Volume 1, and,
yes.
and then you're going to have Volume 2.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Volume 1. You have the song Switching Sides.
Yes.
It's very, risky there.
It's risky.
Talk about switching sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's loyalty. It's like, once I have you, you're always mine. I think that men and women, most of them feel like that possessiveness.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean? So there's no belief in switching sides, even if it's if romantically it's over. It's just a fact of like, me, so your allegiance in any situation outside of that should be towards me, or to take that into consideration. There is no switching sides, no matter who you with. I don't care.
So basically, you're saying like, if you break up with somebody, are you saying like that person is still indebted to you? Or are you talking about in an actual relationship?
Nah, they're always indebted to me.
Oh, wait a minute! Oh, goodness gracious!
They're always indebted to me. That don't mean on a physical aspect. That just means to
mentally.
When you see me, show respect. You know what I mean? And I'll do the same. Some people, when they break up, that respect ain't there. And, sometimes that's just because it ended ugly. So I do my best if, when I do my dealings, that it's no hard feelings between me and that young lady, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So, what can we expect from this second compilation? Volume?
Volume, yeah. Same thing, grittiness. Both of them got great vibes on it. If I say so myself, it's great feels.
Any release dates? Or no.
For Volume 2, chances are, you'll get in April.
Okay.
April, May. It got to come out around that time. For sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I want to get into this talk because
here we go.
There's been a lot of things going on talking about R&B is dead, and some people are saying that they are the king of R&B. So the first question that I have for you about this is, does Kevin Ross feel like R&B is dead?
Hell no. Hell no. It'll never be dead. You see how many rappers that's singing right now?
Listen, I know. Literally everybody.
It's a hybrid. They just call it hip hop. They just made it another name because they feel like R&B is just not a cool name. But R&B is alive and well. As long as rappers keep singing, as long as Drake, does a half and half album of hip hop and R&B is alive and well. It's just taking on different characters, different faces. It's not the same of what people know it as. Right. And I just think that for me, I think Audacity will show it pays homage, but it also allows for the genre to push forward too. Not just dwelling in the 90s. I love the 90s, and don't get it twisted, but we can't stay there. Because if we stay there, then it will die. We got to understand that the 90s is a derivative of the 70s, that most of your favorite records are samples and loops. So it's like, if we really want to keep it alive, then I think more artists and more creatives need to be students of it versus going after the bag, because that's what's really not even killing it, but it's hurting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So, yeah, that's my take on it. So,
I'm the king of R&B. So, okay. So what do you? I'm sorry, because what do you feel like validates someone to consider themselves to be the king of R&B?
I think everybody should consider themselves the king of something.
Okay.
So to each his own. If that young black man feels like he's the king of R&B, then he's the king of R&B in his world. You know what I mean? If I look in the mirror and I'm the king of something, so for me, I can't bash someone for their confidence or their air, because that's what feeds him, that's what feeds his family, that's what helps to build his fan base. So to each his own. It's just yeah, we know what it is.
Yes, we know what it is. So if someone challenged you on the opinion of placing yourself as the king of R&B, what would you say validates you and sets you apart from other artists in this R&B rank?
I just know how to execute. I think that's my biggest strong suit out of everybody. It's just the fact that whatever comes to my mind, I'm very determined to get it done. Whether it's a record, at this point, records are easy for me to do, right? So I've accomplished that, and then I went to mashups, and then I accomplished that. So it's always something. And it was now I want to start a business. So execution has been the biggest portion for me that I feel like sets me apart from my peers is ownership.
Yes.
Having the cojones to do something that's different and always move different. I think that a lot of times I could get praised and penalized for the way that I move, because it may not be the sexiest, it may not be the grandest, but I'm going to work harder than most of my peers. And I have to keep that mentality. And even if I see someone that is at the slightest working harder than me, then that encourages me to step my game up.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of, artists and having to be able to create those spaces to make the numbers, because I feel like now for independent artists or just artists in general, I feel like the numbers are such a big game.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes people are focusing on the numbers and they, sometimes can be able to focus on the work.
Yeah.
I know that you do definitely have a lot of numbers. How do you say that someone should actually focus on trying to convert those actual numbers that you see on Instagram into actual people that come to your concerts and your shows?
Everything is based off of a sliding scale, right? So you don't know until you actually get out there in the field, in these streets, and out there to perform, to see where your base is. I went on my first tour, the Awakening tour, and it was an 18-city run. So I saw the cities that worked amazingly and the ones that didn't work, and you would be surprised because it's oh man, you're getting all this airplay in this city, and then when you show up you know, it's halfway full or it's a quarter filled. You know what I mean? So I think that goes with just trying it out because you don't know. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think that social media is not a real indicator of who's going to come out in reality because so many people are stuck on here that they're not going to get up from out of the comfort of their home to watch you, especially if you're already entertaining them on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever. So, yeah, it's completely different, you know, and you always have to respect the mediums, you know what I mean, because you don't know until you know.
Right. So I want to get on the point of you being a Grammy Award winning songwriter.
Grammy nominated. I haven't won a Grammy yet. So yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, for your songwriting.
Yeah.
For Tony Braxton.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that. So how was it? Because I know you actually started out being a songwriter.
Yes.
So how did you journey into being a songwriter?
I mean, songwriting was first. I mean, after college, shout out to Berklee College of Music out in Boston. After college, I was just determined to be a writer. I was like, man, I don't want nobody to know I'm an artist. I don't really want to get into all that.
Why was that?
Because I felt like I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. And I didn't want for people to be like, he's a much better singer than he is a writer, or vice versa. I would rather for them to debate that. But I didn't want to be pigeonholed into saying, nah, you ain't got to write, just sing. You know, so I just kind of went into this space where I was like, I wanted to dedicate myself to being a good writer. And so I think I accomplished that.
Yes, you have. I mean, you wrote for so many different artists. So how is it different? Because, you know, people, I feel like sometimes, like, as artists, you just want to focus on being an artist. But what's the difference between being a songwriter versus writing for yourself as an artist?
I think that writing for someone else, it takes a lot more observation. And I'm a quiet person naturally. So you know, it's a joy to sit and watch people, how they move, their lifestyle, and how I can bring that into a record, you know, to look at the nuances and then apply it to words. So when they hear it, they'll look at me and be like, damn, how they know that? It's like, nah, it's within your action. It's within your movement. It's within, you know, how you know, just their lifestyle. So I think for me, that's what separates me as a writer. Then artistically, I think that's a little more challenging because you have to look inward. You know, I like to get a lot of input from people to say, you know, what do you think about me? How do I move? You know what I mean? Like, what are the nuances that you see? What are the changes that you see from, you know, 6 months ago to now or last year to now? So I look at that. I ask questions. I'm inquisitive, and I think that helps to shape me as an artist as well. You know, the things that are missing. Yeah.
So talking about, like, you know, writing for yourself as an artist and having to be 100% vulnerable, how is it actually putting your life into your music? Like, do you ever feel uncomfortable or, like, you know, you're like, well, I don't want this person to know that I'm really talking about them, or, you know, like, how does that work?
I mean, I think it's necessary for an artist to, it just depends on, like, your level of vulnerability and what you want to speak on. You know what I mean? There's certain things, like, I had wrote songs, like, when I first got signed. I had an older brother that passed, and so for me, I wanted to write about that, and such a beautiful song, and so what I saw was that when I sent it into the label, it got cannibalized, and it became this product, and a lot of the heart, the feel, the true intention of the record was completely stripped away because it had to become a product. It had to be monetized. And so that was a lesson that I learned, is that certain things are off limits. Certain things are just too touchy and too personal, where it's business. So you can't mix emotion with business, even though that's the music business. But,
right.
But, you know, in order for me to not lose it and for me to, you know, keep a level head, I know what I can say and I know what I can't say as it pertains to family, as it pertains to people that I love and cherish, you know, to leave their names and to leave certain situations from out of it, because once it's out, it doesn't belong to me anymore. You know, in a way that, I mean, of course, like, rights-wise, it belongs to me, but as far as the idea and whatever I say, it belongs to the world now. So I got to be careful of that.
So what kind of conversation pieces do you look to present with, like, the music track? Because I know A Thing Called Love.
Yeah.
You talked about that before.
Yeah. I mean, Thing Called Love is a great start as far as, like, not feeling worthy, feeling inadequate, letting something self-destruct because you don't know how to deal with, you know, something like that. Another one is Honest. Yeah, honesty. So, in that record, I say, I lie because I love you, and you lie because you love me. And if truth is the mirror, then shit can get ugly, and that's honest, if we're being honest. And I think that, everybody has a threshold for honesty, and that a lot of people ain't honest with that. Their threshold, what you can take, what you can't take. I know for me, it's certain things I don't want to hear. I'm like Mario Winans, I don't want to know. You know what I mean? So
you mean to tell me, like, you don't want to know if it's like a big secret or something that could probably be like a detriment to your relationship?
I think if it's a big enough secret, it's gonna show anyways.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You can feel that. People give away red flags from the first time they meet. First date, first entry. We just choose to ignore it. But for me, the level of honesty in the sense where it's like, okay, I don't really care about how many bodies you got, and I don't want a number. So we just gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or, the level of honesty of like, what someone may think within a moment of how you conducted yourself. Like, it's like, let's save that. Let's table that. Or we may not have to talk about it, to be honest. But if we love one another, we're here for that very reason. So, certain things can just be left between, me and God, for sure.
That's true. Listen, he'll be able to cover you in that situation.
Come on
now. Speaking of relationships too, I want to talk a little bit more about, okay, so where do you feel like
Okay, here we go.
No. Where do you feel like should be a good space for a conversation of like relationships in your music? What's a good space to kind of be like an introduction to say, okay, man, this is how we should handle relationships, because I feel like a thing called love, I feel like it kind of gave men a platform to be able to kind of say, hey, dude, I totally understand how you feel about that. But like, so how do you see, building those conversations in your music? How do you see that you can be able to transition that and help, some of these young men understand relationships?
If they just listen and press play, and for the things that they can't articulate, that's what I'm there for, I'm there for my generation as we're growing up and as we're starting families and having kids and all that stuff. I just want to be there through it all, Right. I miss the whole, party moment of us growing up.
So you never partied?
I partied, but I was crafting, you know what I mean? Like, I've been making the same damn vibes and feels since I was like 20, 21. So they've always said that I was too young to do the kind of music that I'm doing now. And so I feel like I'm just catching up. Like, I'm right at the cusp of where I should be. I just need this facial hair to grow in a little bit, and then we'll be all right. But yeah, my goal is to, I got a little story. I went to see Frankie Beverly and Maze for the first time in Atlanta.
Dope.
And what I saw was the energy, the people to feel like, just the fact of like every time they did a song, like I could see in people's eyes, they remember where they were when they first heard that song and how much it meant to them. And I was like, damn, like how many artists do we have right now that can take us there, right? Because we're still building, we're still trying to figure it out. And I just want to be in a number. I want to be amongst those that, can make memories with one another and remember when, you were at this particular moment when you heard this song, beyond just the social part of it, like just like the facts of music, and how it made you feel. So, yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yes. So what other things do you look to resonate, with your fans?
What do I look to resonate? Just building more rapport. You know what I mean? Like, I think Thing Called Love was the first record that I had in 2 years. So for my fan base, it created a level of inconsistency outside of mashups. And so I think with any relationship, consistency is important. And just the fact of they welcome me back with open arms and stream the record and champion the record, it means a lot. And so I don't want to let them down, and I don't want to let up, especially now that I have control and autonomy over what I do.
Right. I also say, too, that I notice how, sometimes whenever you do go live, you do also give people an opportunity to be able to sing, which I think that's super, super cool. Can we see anything growing from that, maybe?
You never know. You never know. I mean, you sparked the idea. I think that's dope. And, I take ideas and I run with them. So, yeah, I think that'll be great.
Awesome. Yeah. So I wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty of our Viral Vice questions. So one of my first questions for you is, what are some things that you would encourage creators to do in their moments of downtime in between time of creating?
Just rest. Take in as much information as possible. Like, go out, experience life. You can't get burnt out. So yeah, try to enjoy yourself in the process of you creating and making money, so that you can have some kind of life experiences to glean off of, or observe, for that matter. Being in the studio or, just 24 hours, within your craft can do a lot of damage to you, and it can kind of like stunt your growth as a human being. So
I want you to tell me, that's one question I have for you, but I want you to tell me, give me like top 3 things that you would tell somebody, because I feel like you do your mashups, you're a songwriter, you're an artist, you have your own label. I feel like you've literally like set the bar. So out of all the things you have accomplished, what would be 3 gems that you would give someone to say?
3 gems. Content first, then be consistent. No, I'm sorry. Content first, execute, and be consistent.
So content first, execute, and be consistent.
Yeah. That's kind of like, like when you look at like businesses, and a lot of like business acumen comes from that, right? So they actually assemble a team, right? They understand the art of delegation first, and then they think of like the idea of the product, which, in creators world, it's like, what? Like, you create the team first and then you do the product? So, for us, it's different, where it's like, I would suggest the product first. You then create a team around you, because that's the synergy that's there, because everyone is drawing towards the product, right?
Right.
And then from there, you learn how to execute. You learn how to execute, and once you execute something, then you can do that over and over and over again. Because the truth is, out of creatives, 90% of them never release anything. They never create anything, as far as like that's in the physical world. And so for the 10% that do, we're a step of, hundreds of steps ahead of everyone else. So that's the thing I suggest, is execute, and then be consistent with your execution. Repeat that same pattern until you want to level up, and you'll learn other steps and tools when you're there at that level.
So I want you to give us a little bit of a snippet of what we can expect on January the 31st.
Well, of course,
Audacity, a little bit.
Of course, we got to do a thing called love. I don't know why you love me so much. No, when I can't say I deserve us. Like a rocket's failure to launch, baby. I just let it self-destruct. I never was so good at this thing called love, but all I know is if you teach me, I know I could be a better man until you show me all that I could become. I didn't know what it was to be good at this thing called love. No. And that's it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you can expect. Just a little bit of on January the 31st.
Go get that.
Sir, that was
January 31st.
Amazing. Where can we find you on all of your social media platforms and Audacity?
That is at Kevin Ross Music. That is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I'm on it. Audacity Volume 1, January 31st. Thank you for having me. This has been awesome. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was another edition of Gone Viral. You can catch me, Miss Neema, Skye, on all social media platforms at NEEMASKYE. It's been well. I will see you all next week. Make sure you go cop that Audacity January 31st.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.